The unforgiving vacuum of space carried no sound. Yet the distress call that reached Earth's deep space monitoring station screamed with urgency. Like a whisper across the cosmos, it carried the desperation of billions. Admiral Lena Cortez stood rigid in the command center of Sol Defense Station, her gaze fixed on the holographic display. Streams of garbled data cascaded before her eyes, fragments of an alien language punctuated by universal trade pidgin. One phrase repeated with increasing clarity: "Send Deathworld warriors. Earth, help us." "Can we clean this up?" she asked, her voice cutting through the hushed murmurs of the bridge crew. A communications specialist shook her head. "The signal's degraded from long-distance transmission. Admiral, we're lucky to have received this much." Cortez's eyes narrowed. Deathworlders. The term was both a slur and a badge of honor for humans, whose homeworld's harsh conditions had forged them into resilient survivors. "Get Dr. Patel up here. Now." Earth in 2178 CE was no longer just a cradle of human civilization, but the heart of a modest interstellar presence. Humanity had established colonies on 12 worlds within 50 light-years. Yet rumors persisted of vast alien civilizations lurking in the deeper void. Most politicians preferred to focus on domestic matters rather than cosmic mysteries, especially with the economic strain of maintaining a defensive fleet. Dr. Suresh Patel arrived at the command center 20 minutes later, blinking sleep from his eyes. The xenolinguist's normally immaculate appearance was disheveled. Clearly, he had been summoned from bed. "Admiral," he nodded, smoothing down his rumpled uniform. "I understand there's an urgent translation." Cortez gestured to the data stream. "Unknown origin came through the Arcturus relay. Mentions Earth specifically." Patel stepped toward the hologram, his fatigue vanishing as professional curiosity took hold. He manipulated the display with practiced gestures, isolating audio fragments and cross-referencing them against the database of known linguistic patterns. "Fascinating," he murmured. "There are elements of at least 3 distinct phonological structures here. The syntax resembles nothing in our records. But—" He trailed off, engrossed in his analysis. Cortez waited, her patience wearing thin. "Doctor, what does it say?" Patel turned, his face grave. "It's a distress call, Admiral. From a world called Viridia Prime. They're under attack by something called the Draylan Armada. The message describes orbital bombardment, ground invasion, and systematic destruction of population centers." "Why contact us? How do they even know about Earth?" "That's unclear," Patel admitted. "But they specifically request Deathworld warriors by name. They seem to believe humans possess unique capabilities that could help them resist this invasion." Cortez's comm unit chimed. "Admiral, Fleet Command is requesting your presence at an emergency council session. The President has been briefed." "Politics." Cortez suppressed a grimace. As the highest-ranking military officer in the Sol system, she knew her recommendation would carry weight, but the final decision would be political. "Dr. Patel, you're with me," she ordered. "Bring everything you've decoded, and contact Captain Tanaka. Tell him to prepare a briefing on rapid response capabilities." The council chamber hummed with tension as representatives from Earth's unified government argued about the implications of alien contact. "We have no confirmation this message is genuine," insisted Defense Minister Xavier. "It could be a trap, or a ruse to draw our forces away from Earth." "Or it could be exactly what it appears to be," countered Ambassador Chen from the diplomatic corps. "A desperate plea from a civilization being annihilated." Cortez stood before them, impassive. "The signal contains detailed stellar cartography that matches our deep space surveys. Viridia Prime is approximately 70 light-years from Earth, orbiting a G-type star. Habitable zone, similar to Earth, but with higher oxygen content and gravity at 1.2 G. "And these Draylan?" asked the President, her eyes sharp. Dr. Patel stepped forward. "Based on fragmentary descriptions, They appear to be a militaristic species with advanced weaponry and a hierarchical command structure. The message describes them as merciless and intent on complete subjugation, if not extermination. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices, fear and uncertainty driving the debate. Cortez waited until the president raised a hand for silence. "Admiral Cortez, your recommendation?" Cortez didn't hesitate. "We dispatch a reconnaissance force immediately. A small fleet, 3 frigates and support vessels. If the situation matches the distress call, we can deploy combat teams and request reinforcements." "And if it's a trap?" Minister Xavier demanded. "Then we retreat and reassess," Cortez replied evenly. "But if it's genuine, and we do nothing..." She let the implication hang in the air. The president nodded slowly. Humanity has always prided itself on resilience and compassion. If there are others out there who recognize us as potential allies against oppression, we have a moral obligation to at least investigate. She turned to Cortez. "You have authorization, Admiral. Assemble your fleet." Captain Ryo Tanaka received the deployment orders with characteristic stoicism. His weathered face betrayed no emotion as he read the mission parameters, but a muscle twitched in his jaw, the only sign of his inner excitement. 70 light years, he remarked to his executive officer. "That's well beyond our previous operational range." "The new jump drives can handle it," the XO replied. "Engineering's confidence is high." Tanaka nodded. "Assemble the team leaders. We'll need specialized training for Viridia's conditions." Within hours, the lower decks of Sol Defense Station had transformed into simulation chambers, replicating Viridia Prime's environment, based on the limited data available. Tanaka watched as his Special Forces team struggled against the increased gravity, the higher ambient temperature, and the simulated acid rain that characterized Viridia's storm seasons. "Again," he ordered as a squad failed to secure their objective. "In 1.2 G, your jump distances are reduced by 18%. Compensate." Dr. Patel visited the training area, observing with academic interest. "Impressive adaptation," he noted, as Tanaka's teams gradually improved their performance. "It's what we do," Tanaka replied. "Humans adapt. It's how we survived Earth long enough to reach the stars." The message mentioned biocidal fauna on Viridia. "We've programmed some probable scenarios. But we'll handle it," Tanaka assured him. "My people train for the unexpected. It's the expected that usually kills you." Patel nodded, then hesitated. "Captain, there's something else." Further analysis of the message suggests the Viridians have been observing us for some time. They know about Earth's conditions, our storms, predators, diseases. They see these hardships as proof of our resilience. Tanaka's eyes narrowed. "They've been watching us. For how long?" "Unknown. But they didn't reach out until they faced extinction. I believe they respect our privacy. They only broke it out of desperation. Or they fear us," Tanaka suggested, "and only reached out when something even more frightening appeared." The preparations continued at a feverish pace. Admiral Cortez personally oversaw the outfitting of the flagship, the UES Indomitable, while additional frigates, the Perseverance and the Defiance, underwent final checks. Support vessels were loaded with medical supplies, emergency rations, and enough ammunition to wage a small war. On the morning of departure, Cortez addressed the assembled crews via holographic projection. Her uniform was pristine, her posture rigid with duty and determination. "Men and women of Earth Fleet," she began, her voice clear and unwavering. "We embark today on the furthest mission humanity has ever undertaken. We go not as conquerors or explorers, but as respondents to a call for help. Whatever awaits us at Viridia Prime, we will face it with courage, adaptability, and the unyielding spirit that has defined humanity since we first looked to the stars." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the attentive faces. "They call us Deathworlders. They see in us something they need, The strength forged by adversity. Today, we prove them right. Not through destruction, but through protection. Prepare for jump sequence. Cortez out. The jump drives engaged with a soundless surge of energy that distorted space-time around the fleet. For the crew, the experience was disorienting. A moment of vertigo, followed by a sensation of every cell being simultaneously compressed and stretched. Then, reality snapped back into focus, and the view screens showed an unfamiliar starfield. "Jump complete," reported the navigation officer. "Position verified. We've arrived at the outer boundary of the Viridia system." Cortez nodded. "Passive scans only. Let's see what we're dealing with before we announce ourselves." The data flowed in, painting a grim picture. The third planet, Viridia Prime, glowed with an emerald hue, its atmosphere rich with oxygen and complex organic compounds. But orbital scans detected massive energy signatures, weapons fire, shield generators, and the thermal blooms of recent explosions. 17 vessels in high orbit, reported the tactical officer. Configuration unknown, but energy outputs suggest heavy armaments. They're bombarding the surface, targeting population centers. Cortez's expression hardened. Life signs? Billions on the planet's surface, many concentrated in what appear to be underground shelters. The orbital vessels contain approximately 30,000 life forms, biology distinct from the planetary population. "The Draylon Armada," Cortez murmured. She straightened her shoulders. "Battle stations. We'll use the system's asteroid belt for cover and approach from the planet's shadow. Alert Captain Tanaka to prepare his teams for possible ground insertion." The human fleet moved with careful precision, using the system's natural features to mask their approach. The Draylon vessels, focused on their bombardment, remained unaware of the newcomers until the Indomitable launched its first volley of kinetic projectiles. 2 Draylon support ships erupted in silent explosions before their comrades could respond. The remaining vessels turned their attention away from the planet, scrambling to form a defensive perimeter. "They're regrouping," Tactical reported. 15 ships remaining, moving to surround us. "Execute Maneuver Epsilon," Cortez ordered. "Perseverance and Defiance. Break formation and target their flanks. Let's see how they handle multiple threat vectors." The human frigates split apart, accelerating in different directions. The Draylon ships hesitated, their formation faltering as they attempted to track 3 targets simultaneously. "Their coordination is poor," Cortez noted. "Either they're not accustomed to resistance, or their command structure is rigid. Exploit it." The battle unfolded across thousands of kilometers of space. The human vessels, smaller and more agile, darted between asteroid fields and planetary rings, striking from unexpected angles before retreating. The Draylon ships, though heavily armed, struggled to bring their main weapons to bear against such mobile targets. "Admiral," communications called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's in the same language as the distress call." "Put it through to Dr. Patel's station," Cortez ordered, without taking her eyes off the tactical display. "And inform him we could use a real-time translation." Patel's voice came through moments later, tense with excitement. "Admiral, I'm speaking with the Viridian Resistance. They confirm the Draylon have occupied their major cities and are systematically destroying their infrastructure. They're providing coordinates for ground insertion away from Draylon sensors." "Understood." Cortez opened a channel to Tanaka. "Captain, prepare your teams. We've made contact with local resistance. You'll be going in hot." Tanaka's voice was calm. "My people are ready, Admiral. Just punch us a hole through their orbital screen." "With pleasure," Cortez replied. "Stand by." She turned to Tactical. "Target their command ship, the large vessel at the center of their formation. Maximum firepower. All batteries." The Indomitable surged forward, its engines flaring as it accelerated directly toward the heart of the Draylon fleet. The enemy vessels adjusted their positions, weapons charging, but they had spread themselves too thin trying to track all three human ships. The Indomitable unleashed a barrage that hammered against the command ship's shields. Simultaneously, the Perseverance and Defiance attacked from opposite vectors, creating a crossfire that overwhelmed the defensive systems. The Draylon command ship's shields flickered and failed in sections, allowing several projectiles to strike its hull directly. "They're wounded but operational," Tactical reported. "Their fleet is converging to protect the command ship." "Perfect," Cortez smiled grimly. "All vessels, execute jump to coordinates beta. Deploy dropships during transition." The human fleet vanished in a ripple of distorted spacetime, reappearing on the far side of Viridia Prime. In the moment of transition, 20 dropships launched from their bays, plummeting toward the planet's surface, while the Draylon fleet struggled to reacquire their targets. Captain Tanaka felt the familiar pressure of atmospheric entry as his dropship cut through Viridia's upper atmosphere. The vessel shuddered and groaned, heat shields glowing cherry red from friction. 2 minutes to landing zone," announced the pilot. "Sensors detect no Draylon presence in the immediate area." Tanaka checked his combat suit one final time. The specialized armor had been modified for Viridia's conditions, with enhanced filtration against the planet's toxic pollen and reinforced joints to compensate for the increased gravity. "Remember your training," he addressed his team over the squad channel. "This isn't Earth. The flora and fauna evolve differently here. Trust nothing. Touch nothing without scanning it first." The dropship touched down in a clearing surrounded by towering vegetation that resembled bamboo, crossed with giant ferns. The air that rushed in when the hatch opened carried a sweet, almost cloying scent that the suit's filters immediately neutralized. "Secure perimeter," Tanaka ordered as his team deployed. "Sensors active, full spectrum." The jungle around them teemed with life. Creatures resembling iridescent dragonflies the size of hawks darted between the massive plants. Something serpentine slithered through the underbrush, triggering proximity alerts. "Movement at 11 o'clock, reported Sergeant Wilcox. "Humanoid, approaching slowly." Tanaka raised his hand, signaling his team to hold position but remain alert. From between the massive plant stems emerged a figure, bipedal, but unmistakably alien. Its skin had a blue-green tint that provided perfect camouflage in the verdant surroundings. 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, blinked at different intervals as the being assessed the human visitors. "I am Arya Voss." The alien spoke in halting trade pidgin. "Leader of Viridian resistance in this sector. You are Earth warriors?" Tanaka stepped forward, lowering his weapon but not his guard. "Captain Ryo Tanaka, Earth Special Forces. We received your distress call." Arya's 4 eyes blinked in what might have been relief. "The Draylon control cities. Kill many. We hide. Fight when possible. But their weapons." She gestured helplessly. "We understand," Tanaka replied. "We're here to help. Can you guide us to your base? We need to coordinate with your forces." Arya nodded, then stiffened suddenly. Her head tilted, listening to something beyond human hearing range. "Draylon patrol coming. We must move quickly. Follow." She led them deeper into the jungle, moving with a grace that belied the planet's higher gravity. The humans followed, their enhanced suits compensating for the conditions, but still leaving them feeling heavy and clumsy by comparison. They traveled for hours through increasingly dense vegetation. Twice they had to take cover as Draylon scout ships passed overhead, their sensors sweeping the canopy for signs of resistance. "The Draylon arrived 1 lunar cycle ago," Arya explained as they moved. "No warning, no communication. They began bombardment immediately, targeting our defense systems first, then population centers." "What do they want?" Tanaka asked. "Our world," Arya replied simply. "Viridia Prime is rich in resources, favorable for their biology. They do not conquer. They replace. All indigenous life is considered obstacle." The implications were clear: not occupation, but extermination. They reached the resistance base as Viridia's sun began to set, a sprawling, underground complex beneath what appeared to be ancient ruins. Hundreds of Viridians moved with purpose through the tunnels, carrying weapons, medical supplies, and communications equipment. "We monitor Draylan communications," Arya explained, as she led Tanaka to a central chamber. "There Admiral Corvin directs from orbit. They prepare for final assault on our capital city." "How many of your people are still there?" Tanaka asked. "Many thousands. In shelters beneath the city. If Draylan breached shelters..." She didn't need to finish the thought. Tanaka activated his comlink. "Admiral Cortez, this is Tanaka. We've made contact with the Viridian resistance. Situation is confirmed. Full-scale invasion with intent to depopulate the planet. Request immediate reinforcements and tactical support." Cortez's voice crackled through the link. "Understood, Captain. We're engaging their fleet to keep them occupied, but we're outnumbered. We've sent coordinates for additional Earth forces, but they won't arrive for at least 48 hours. "The capital won't last that long," Tanaka replied grimly. "We need to buy time." "Then we'll have to be creative," Cortez said. "What assets do you have on the ground?" Tanaka surveyed the Viridian Command Center. 20 Special Forces teams spread across 3 drop zones. Local resistance numbering perhaps 1,000 combat-capable individuals. Limited heavy weapons, but... He paused. An idea forming. "Admiral, the Viridians understand this planet better than anyone, and from what I've seen, Viridia itself might be our best weapon." "Explain," Cortez prompted. "The ecosystem here is aggressive. Adaptive defenses against predation that make Earth's most dangerous flora look tame. If we could weaponize that somehow, use it against the Draylan ground forces." "Do it," Cortez ordered. "Whatever you need. I'll keep their fleet distracted. Cortez out." Tanaka turned to Arya. "Your world, what are its natural defenses? The most dangerous plants, animals, environmental conditions?" Arya's eyes blinked in a pattern that suggested surprise. "Many dangers. Acid storms in northern regions, seismic activity along coastal fault lines, predator species in deep jungles." "Show me everything," Tanaka insisted. "Especially anything the Draylan might be vulnerable to." Over the next hours, Tanaka and his team studied Viridia's natural hazards. The planet's ecosystem had evolved elaborate chemical defenses, toxins that could paralyze, corrode, or induce hallucinations. Certain plants released spores that could penetrate most filtration systems. Burrowing creatures created vast underground networks that could destabilize entire regions if disturbed properly. "Their primary base is here," Arya indicated on a holographic map. "What you call a citadel, built on ruins of our government center, surrounded by force fields, heavy weapons." Tanaka studied the terrain. "And these fault lines run directly beneath it?" "Yes, but Draylan sensors would detect seismic charges." "We won't use charges," Tanaka replied. "We'll use these..." He pointed to images of the burrowing creatures. "How quickly can you gather specimens?" As Tanaka's team prepared their unconventional assault, Admiral Cortez continued the orbital battle. The human fleet employed hit-and-run tactics, striking Draylan vessels before jumping to new coordinates, never remaining in one place long enough to be overwhelmed by superior numbers. "Their formation is breaking down," Tactical reported, after a particularly successful strike. 3 more of their vessels show significant damage. "They're adapting," Cortez noted. "Their responses are becoming more coordinated. We need to end this before they fully analyze our tactics." She studied the tactical display, noting the position of the Draylan command ship. It remained at the center of their formation, protected by the remaining fleet. Direct assault would be suicide. "What about their communications?" she asked suddenly. "How are they coordinating their fleet?" Analysis of intercepted transmissions revealed the Draylan used a tightly focused quantum entanglement system. Nearly impossible to jam, but limited in bandwidth. Their tactical orders followed strict protocols, leaving little room for initiative among subordinate commanders. They're rigid, Cortez realized, hierarchical to a fault. If we could disrupt their command structure, even temporarily, she formulated a daring plan. Using the Indomitable as bait, she would draw out the Draylen fleet, creating an opening for a small, fast vessel to approach the command ship. Not to destroy it, but to board it. Boarding action, her XO questioned. Against unknown alien defenses? Not a full assault, Cortez clarified. A small team, minimal footprint. Objective: disrupt their communications, sow confusion, then extract. I'll lead it myself. The XO started to protest, but Cortez silenced him with a look. This is my operation, and sometimes leadership requires personal risk. On the surface, Tanaka's preparations neared completion. His teams had positioned themselves around the Draylen citadel, concealed in the dense vegetation. With Viridian assistance, they had captured dozens of the burrowing creatures, arthropod-like beings the size of small dogs, with natural sonar and powerful digging appendages. They follow vibration patterns, Arya explained, as Viridian handlers attached small devices to the creatures' carapaces. These will guide them toward the fault line beneath the citadel. Tanaka nodded. And the spore pods? Ready, confirmed Sergeant Wilcox. Positioned upwind of their perimeter. Once ruptured, the wind will carry the spores directly into their air intakes. Remember, Tanaka cautioned, this is primarily a distraction. When the Draylen forces respond to these attacks, our main strike team will breach the citadel and secure the shield generators. If we can bring down their defensive screen, Admiral Cortez can target their heavy weapons from orbit. He checked the chronometer on his suit. Synchronize with fleet operations. We move in 20 minutes. In orbit, Admiral Cortez prepared for her boarding action. She had selected a team of 5, herself and 4 veteran combat specialists, equipped with boarding suits designed for zero-gravity assault. Their vessel, little more than an oversized escape pod with stealth capabilities, was loaded into the Indomitable's launch tube. All ships execute Battle Plan Omega, she ordered. Commence in 3 minutes. The human fleet split into 3 groups, each attacking a different section of the Draylen formation. As predicted, the enemy vessels moved to intercept, creating brief gaps in their defensive screen. The Indomitable launched a barrage of missiles, not at the enemy ships, but into empty space between them, creating a cloud of debris and radiation that confused sensors. In that moment of chaos, Cortez's boarding pod launched, its engines silent, coasting on the momentum of the initial ejection. It drifted through the battlefield like so much space debris, unnoticed amid the larger conflict. "Approaching target," whispered the pilot. "Minimal power. Passive systems only." Cortez checked her weapons. A pulse rifle modified for shipboard combat, and a sidearm loaded with specialized ammunition designed to penetrate alien armor without breaching hull plating. "Remember," she told her team, "we're not here to capture the ship or engage in extended combat. We disable their command systems, extract any critical intelligence, and withdraw. 15 minutes maximum." The pod's magnetic clamps engaged silently, securing it to the Draylen command ship's hull, near what sensors identified as a maintenance airlock. Cutting tools deployed, slicing through the outer door mechanisms. Warning lights flashed inside the pod as atmosphere vented from the airlock, but no alarms sounded on the Draylen vessel. "They're too focused on the fleet battle," Cortez realized. "Move in." They entered the alien ship in single file, weapons ready. The interior was humid and dimly lit, with corridors that curved organically rather than following human architectural conventions. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth standard, giving them a small advantage in mobility. They encountered their first Draylen guard at a junction. The alien was tall and lanky, with gray-white skin and 4 arms, each ending in 3-fingered hands. Its face was flat, with vertical slits for nostrils and wide-set eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. Cortez fired before it could sound an alarm, the pulse rifle discharging with a muffled thump. The Draylen collapsed, its armor smoking where the shot had penetrated. "Life signs?" she whispered. A team member scanned the fallen guard. Unconscious but alive. Stunner round worked as designed. "Move on. Command center should be 2 levels up, based on energy signatures." They proceeded through the ship, encountering minimal resistance. Most of the crew appeared to be at battle stations, focused on the fleet engagement. Those they did encounter were quickly neutralized with stunner rounds. The command center's entrance was more heavily guarded. 4 Draylen soldiers with heavier armor and what appeared to be energy weapons. Cortez signaled her team to deploy flashbang grenades, modified for Draylen sensory systems. The devices detonated with a blinding pulse of light, at frequencies the alien eyes were particularly sensitive to, accompanied by a subsonic rumble that disoriented their inner ear analogs. The guards collapsed, clutching their sensory organs. Cortez led the charge into the command center, a circular chamber dominated by a holographic battle display. Around it stood a dozen Draylen officers, now turning in confusion toward the human intruders. At the center stood a figure that could only be Admiral Corvin, taller than the others, with elaborate insignia on its armor and a bearing that radiated authority. Its eyes fixed on Cortez with cold intelligence. "You," it spoke in perfect trade pidgin. Earth vessel commander, bold but futile. Cortez raised her rifle. "Surrender your vessel and withdraw your forces from Viridia Prime." Corvin made a sound that might have been laughter. "We do not surrender. The weak submit or perish. It is the natural order." "There's nothing natural about genocide," Cortez replied. "Last chance." Instead of answering, Corvin moved with surprising speed, drawing a sidearm and firing in one fluid motion. Cortez dived aside, the energy bolt searing past her shoulder. Her team responded with a barrage of stunner rounds, dropping several Draylen officers. But Corvin's armor deflected the shots. The alien admiral pressed a control on its wrist, and blast shields began to descend over the command center's entrances. "You are trapped now. My ship's security forces will arrive momentarily." Cortez rolled to cover behind a console. "We're not here to capture you. We're here to demonstrate a point." She nodded to a team member, who activated a device attached to the ship's main communications array. The holographic display flickered and died. Throughout the ship, command channels went silent. "What have you done?" Corvin demanded. "Isolated your command structure," Cortez explained. "Your fleet now operates without coordinated leadership, without your rigid control. They'll be forced to act independently, something they're clearly not trained for." "On cue," her comm unit signaled. "Admiral," came the voice of the Indomitable's tactical officer. "Draylen fleet formations are breaking down. Their vessels are taking individual actions, some contradicting others. 3 ships have collided, attempting evasive maneuvers." "Begin Phase 2, Cortez ordered. "Target their weapons platforms." She turned back to Corvin. "Your military doctrine values rigid hierarchy over initiative. It makes you predictable and vulnerable." Corvin raised its weapon again, but Cortez was faster. Her pulse rifle discharged, the shot striking the alien's weapon and shattering it. In the same motion, she closed the distance between them, using the lighter gravity to launch herself forward. The Draylen admiral was stronger, but Cortez had trained in variable gravity environments for decades. She used Corvin's weight against it, redirecting its momentum and slamming it against a console. "Your species evolved on a gentle world," she said as they grappled. "Minimal predators, stable climate, predictable conditions. It made you strong as a collective, but individually fragile." Corvin struck out with its lower arms, catching Cortez in the midsection. The blow would have incapacitated her, if not for her combat suit's reinforcement. "Humans," Cortez continued, recovering quickly. "Evolved on a death world. Constant threats. Environmental disasters, disease, famine. It didn't make us gentle. She delivered a precise strike to a joint in Corvin's armor, causing the alien to stagger. It made us adaptable. On the planet below, Tanaka's operation began. The burrowing creatures were released, their guidance devices directing them toward the fault line beneath the Draylan citadel. Within minutes, the ground began to tremble as they tunneled in coordinated patterns, weakening key structural points. Simultaneously, the spore pods ruptured, releasing clouds of microscopic particles that the wind carried directly into the citadel's ventilation systems. The Draylan, unprepared for Viridia's natural toxins, began to experience respiratory distress and neurological symptoms that their medical systems struggled to counteract. First phase successful, Tanaka reported, as he observed Draylan troops rushing from their positions, their formations in disarray. Commencing main assault. His strike team, accompanied by Viridian resistance fighters led by Arya, used the confusion to breach the citadel's outer perimeter. They encountered sporadic resistance, individual Draylan soldiers struggling with the effects of the spores, their coordination hampered by the communications blackout from orbit. The shield generators should be 3 levels down. Arya guided them through the captured Draylan facility. Heavily guarded, separate power supply. Tanaka nodded. Wilcox, take your squad and secure our exit route. Martinez, you're with me and Arya. Everyone else, create diversions on the upper levels. They fought their way deeper into the citadel, using the structure's unfamiliar layout to their advantage. The Draylan defenders, accustomed to rigid battle plans, struggled to respond to the humans' adaptable tactics and the Viridians' intimate knowledge of the building's original design. This was our council hall, Arya explained, as they passed through a grand chamber now filled with Draylan equipment. Center of government for 500 years. We'll help you reclaim it, Tanaka promised. They reached the shield generator level to find it heavily defended. A squad of Draylan troops wearing sealed environmental suits that protected them from the spore effects. Behind them hummed the massive generators that powered the Citadel's defensive screens. Direct assault would be costly, Tanaka assessed. We need another approach. He studied the chamber's layout, noting the environmental controls. Arya, does this level connect to the building's water reclamation system? Yes, she confirmed. Old maintenance tunnels, beneath flooring. Tanaka smiled grimly. Perfect. Martinez, your demolition charges. We're going to introduce their shield generators to some Viridian groundwater. While Martinez prepared the charges, Tanaka's team engaged the Draylan guards with suppressing fire, keeping them pinned while remaining out of direct line of sight. Arya led a small team to access the maintenance tunnels, planting explosives at key junctures in the water system. Charges set, Martinez reported. Ready on your mark. Execute, Tanaka ordered. The explosions were precisely calculated, not to destroy the generators directly, but to rupture the water system beneath them. Torrents of Viridian groundwater, naturally corrosive due to the planet's soil chemistry, flooded the chamber. The Draylan troops scrambled to higher ground, their attention diverted from the human attackers. The shield generators sparked and sputtered as the acidic water reached their power couplings. Warning alarms blared throughout the citadel. Shield integrity failing, reported one of Tanaka's technicians, monitoring the readings. 70%, 50%, 30%. Admiral Cortez, Tanaka called over the comlink. Target lock the Citadel's weapon emplacements. Shields are coming down now. In orbit, the battle had turned decisively in humanity's favor. With the Draylan command structure disrupted, their fleet fell into disarray. Some vessels continued to fight according to their last orders, while others attempted to regroup or retreat. On the command ship, Cortez had subdued Admiral Corvin after an intense hand-to-hand struggle. The alien leader was secured, its armor disabled by precision shots to key control nodes. Your citadel defenses are failing, Cortez informed her prisoner as reports came in from the surface. Your fleet is scattered. This invasion is over. You cannot defeat an entire armada with 3 ships, Corvin insisted, though with less certainty than before. We don't need to, Cortez replied. We just need to demonstrate the cost of continuing. Your species values efficiency, correct? The cold calculation of resources invested versus rewards gained. She activated a holographic display showing the current state of the battle. Draylon ships damaged or destroyed. The Citadel's shields failing. Ground troops in disarray. Calculate the efficiency of this invasion now, she suggested. How many more ships are you willing to lose? How many troops? And for what? A planet that you now know is defended not just by its native population, but by human Deathworlders, who can turn your own tactical doctrine against you. Corvin was silent, its alien features unreadable. Here's my offer, Cortez continued. Withdraw your forces from Viridia Prime. Return to your territory. We'll release you and your surviving crew. No pursuit, no reprisals. And if we refuse, Corvin asked. Cortez's expression hardened. Then we continue this battle to its conclusion. And when Earth's reinforcements arrive, which they will, very soon, we'll have the numbers to press our advantage all the way back to your home systems. It was a bluff. Earth had committed nearly all its available military resources to this mission. But Corvin had no way of knowing that. The alien admiral studied Cortez for a long moment. You would risk your species in defense of another? Without hesitation, Cortez replied. That's what separates us. You see other life as competition to be eliminated. We see potential allies. Slowly, deliberately, Corvin lowered its head in what appeared to be a gesture of acquiescence. I will order withdrawal. But know this, human. The Draylon Empire spans dozens of systems. This defeat will not be forgotten. Nor will your invasion, Cortez countered. But perhaps both our peoples can learn from this encounter. She gestured to her team to release Corvin's restraints, then stepped back, maintaining a ready stance. Order your withdrawal, now. The alien admiral activated a backup communication system and issued commands in its native language. Throughout the system, Draylon vessels ceased fire and began moving away from Viridia Prime. On the surface, Tanaka watched as the remaining Draylon troops withdrew from the Citadel, boarding transport vessels that ascended toward the retreating fleet. Beside him, Arya and the Viridian resistance fighters cheered, their 4 eyes blinking in patterns of joy and disbelief. They're actually leaving, Arya said wonderingly. You've done the impossible. Tanaka shook his head. Not impossible, just improbable. Sometimes that's enough to change the course of history. The aftermath of battle left much to rebuild. Viridia's cities lay partially in ruins, its ecosystems damaged by Draylon bombardment. Yet, amid the destruction, hope flourished as Viridians emerged from underground shelters to reclaim their world. Earth's fleet remained in orbit for weeks, providing medical assistance, technical support, and security as the Viridians began reconstruction efforts. Admiral Cortez established diplomatic relations with the planet's reformed government, while Dr. Patel worked tirelessly to develop more sophisticated translation systems to facilitate deeper cultural exchange. Captain Tanaka and his teams helped train Viridian defense forces, incorporating lessons from Earth's military history while respecting the peaceful nature of Viridian society. We don't wish to become warriors, Arya explained during one such session. But we must be prepared to defend ourselves. The best defense isn't always weapons, Tanaka replied. Sometimes it's alliances. Sometimes it's understanding your own strengths, like your planet's natural defenses, which we barely tapped into. 1 month after the battle, representatives from Earth and Viridia Prime gathered in the partially restored council hall to formalize their alliance. Admiral Cortez, still bearing faint scars from her confrontation with Corvin, stood beside the Viridian High Counselor as they signed the historic agreement. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for both our worlds, the Counselor announced. The stars once seemed to separate us, but now they connect us through bonds of friendship and mutual protection. Cortez nodded in agreement. Humanity has long wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now, we know not only that we have neighbors, but that we can stand together against those who would threaten peace and freedom. Later, at a reception celebrating the new alliance, Dr. Patel approached Cortez with excitement. "Admiral, the Viridians have shared their astronomical records with us. They've been observing dozens of inhabited systems for centuries, maintaining a policy of non-interference similar to our own. Until they needed help," Cortez noted. "Yes, but there's more," Patel continued. "Their records suggest there are peaceful civilizations throughout this sector of the galaxy, potential allies who've been living in fear of the Draylen and similar expansionist powers." Cortez considered the implications. A coalition of worlds, each contributing their unique strengths, Earth's resilience, Viridia's biological knowledge, and whatever other talents might be out there, united in mutual defense. "Exactly," Patel agreed. "The Viridians call it the harmony of spheres, an ancient philosophical concept about worlds in balance." As the celebration continued around them, Cortez gazed through a crystal dome at the stars above. Among those distant points of light were other civilizations, some perhaps in need of the same help Earth had provided Viridia. Others might be threats, like the Draylen, driven by conquest and domination. Humanity's path forward was clear. They would build this harmony of spheres, this alliance of diverse worlds. Earth's reputation as a death world had proven to be not a stigma, but a source of strength, the crucible that had forged humanity into protectors, adaptable and resilient enough to face whatever challenges the galaxy might present. "Admiral," Captain Tanaka approached, breaking her reverie. "The Viridian High Council has requested your presence. They wish to discuss establishing a permanent Earth delegation on Viridia Prime." Cortez smiled. "Tell them I'd be honored. And Captain, well done down there. Your team exemplified the best of what humanity can offer to the galaxy." "Just doing what Deathworlders do best, Admiral," Tanaka replied with a rare smile. "Adapting and overcoming." As they walked together to meet the council, Cortez reflected on the distress call that had started it all. The desperate plea from one world to another across the vast gulfs of space. That single transmission had changed the course of history for both civilizations, transforming Deathworlders from a term of fear to one of hope. The stars had never seemed brighter, or the future more promising. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, Earth and Viridia, and perhaps soon, many more worlds united in a harmony that transcended the darkness between the stars.